Well, welcome. I am just getting a couple things finalized for this live stream. Um, if you are curious about submitting questions, feel free to go ahead and use the chat, and I'll mention that in just a minute. Well, welcome to Crystal Conversations. I am so happy that we have yet again another opportunity to take a look at the questions that I've been getting this past month and be able to explore them a little bit. For those of you who are new to my work, I am Mary Jo Feely. I am the owner of Fourth Dimension Healing in Stillwater, Minnesota, which is my energy and crystal healing practice, as well as I'm also the director of the Center for Crystal and Healing Studies, which is my online school. And through my school, I offer a variety of courses in Reiki and energy healing and crystal healing, as well as a crystal healer certification program. So take a look at the links below this video, and I might be able to touch back on that at the end of this hour if there's time, to be able to see if perhaps there's something that you're beginning to be curious about and would like to explore a little bit further. Also, if you're new to this monthly live Q&A, basically I collect questions throughout the month. People submit them to me, and then I gather those questions, pull a lot of rocks and crystals together, and use those to help articulate some of the information that I would like you to receive, because I do think it can be quite helpful when we are navigating how to work with gemstones and crystals to support healing. I want you to keep in mind right from the get-go that there is nothing magical about a gemstone or crystal, and crystal healing is considered complementary and alternative, which means it's used in addition to and as a complementary process and practice that can support allopathic Western medicine. So be very mindful of that. And I always like to kind of put that out there periodically. One of the things I often will do at the beginning of these sessions is revisit any questions that may have arisen last month that we didn't either get a chance to explore or maybe want to do a little bit of follow-up with. And actually, we do have a topic today, and that is a continuation on talking a little bit more about how to work with gemstone and crystal bracelets. And if you've seen my videos, you'll notice that I often am wearing bracelets. Now, it could be that I want to wear a particular bracelet because it's a particular color and the color works with whatever it is that I'm wearing. And that is a fine reason to wear stones because they're pretty, and gemstones and crystals have been used for decorative purposes for millennia. And so why not enjoy that? The other thing I like to point out is that we can be very intentional and mindful about which stones are we choosing to work with in the form of a bracelet to help bring those properties of the stones into our energy field and influence our physical well-being, as well as our emotional and mental well-being as well. One I want to really point out right from the get-go is this bracelet that I'm wearing, which is malachite. So malachite has a lot of copper in it. And malachite, because of its copper, is very supportive for inflammatory responses within the body. And I've been dealing with some tendonitis in this wrist for a while. And so I've been very intentional and mindful about wearing this bracelet around the area that's bothersome to me to be able to support the anti-inflammatory response that the copper presents, and it's a way to support healing. I would say that, and I'm going to use me as an example, if wearing this bracelet would interfere with the movement of the wrist or any kind of mobility issues, then you wouldn't want to wear a bracelet of, let's say, malachite, even though it could be very helpful. You would find other ways to work with the malachite. So I just want to kind of call myself out on that and use that as an example. So I want to show you a few of the gemstones bracelets that I have available to me. And some of these are actually available in my online shop. So you can take a peek if you'd be curious as to what that might be like for you. So we talked about the malachite, and here we have the properties of malachite, very intentionally being worn. Last month, if I'm getting my months correct, we talked about grounding and why it's important to work with grounding stones, even if we're working way up high in the chakra column. And so we talked about that, and you can certainly take a look back at last month's video about that, as well as I have other videos that talk about earth stones and grounding properties. So in this particular stone or this bracelet, we have several different stones. And this is a bracelet that can be really helpful for grounding and protecting the energy field. Now, when I talk about protecting the energy field, what I simply mean is that we are strengthening the energy field. We are strengthening our ability to stay in our own lane energetically. It means I'm not going to allow my energetic patterns and energy per se to kind of bleed into somebody else's energy field. And I'm also going to establish a strong energy field that will help support me from taking on energies from other people. Know that we do this all the time. We're human beings. We don't live in a vacuum. We not only have our own energy field, but we actually create energy fields with everybody that we come into contact with. So you may have somebody that you live with or that you're a close friend with. When you're together, you have a unique energy field that the two of you have formed. A family creates an energetic system. A work environment creates an energetic system. Ultimately, our entire world, our global community is one interconnected global energy field. And then, of course, we're only talking about the humans. And so it does ripple outward into other aspects of beings as well. But for this particular bracelet, which has hematite, iron ore, very grounding. It has tiger's eye, very, very helpful relating to the earth and also kind of that sun vibrant kind of action energy. And then we have black tourmaline, and tourmaline is a very strong stone to help clear the energy field and help with ground. Oh, good. I glitched up there for a minute, but we're just going to keep going with it. When we have these types of stones all together and then work with them together and with the intention that they are going to help us be focused on keeping our boundaries and staying present and eating well and taking good care of ourselves, it can really be effective. Here is an example of a black tourmaline stone bracelet. This is rough tourmaline. You can see it's not been polished up. I've actually had this one a really long time, and I don't really wear it very much because the strings are almost ready to break, so I have to rethread this. But this is a sort of example of a gemstone bracelet that you could wear really effectively for grounding purposes. Sometimes you'll find a bracelet that's called a chakra balancing bracelet. And what that means is that it has a variety of gemstones and crystals that resonate with the various chakras. So we've got behind the red, that root chakra, and then we have the orange sacral, yellow solar plexus, which is in the upper abdomen. The green is the heart chakra, and above, which you can't see, would be the throat chakra, the brown, and the crown, brow and crown. So when we have stones that represent all of those different chakras, it's considered a chakra balancing bracelet. And here's an example of one. I think I'll hold it right here. You can kind of see the various colors. It actually has some red jasper and carnelian and citrine. It has, looks like, yes, that's moss agate. And this is blue lace agate for the throat, sodalite for the brow, and amethyst for the crown. Sometimes you will find a chakra balancing bracelet that does not have the stones ordered, in sequence. It, it still will function as a chakra balancing bracelet because you are bringing in all of those properties. You could actually create a beautiful blend of several bracelets to bring in properties of the chakras as well. There was another one I wanted to show you. This one you'll probably see in many of my videos. This is a piece of lapis lazuli, and lapis lazuli is a stone that I work with on a daily basis. And it is one that is really effective for the brow chakra. It resonates with wind energy, which means it's going to help with mental clarity and calmness and an ability to think clearly and see the bigger picture. Okay, those are aspects of healing that take place through our brow chakra. I also happen to be wearing lapis today as well to, again, bring in a little extra lapis into my energy field, particularly at this time. And then the final one I wanted to mention here is a bracelet that is made out of shungite. And actually, we have a shungite question, so I'm not going to talk about the shungite right now, but that is a way where we can combine a couple different properties from a couple different gemstones and be able to support and in some ways kind of amplify the properties and the healing that's taken place. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. As always, feel free to send me a chat through my website, email me, give me a call if you have questions. I'm more than happy to answer the questions that you may have. And if it's a question that particularly I think could be helpful for a larger audience, I may bring it next month or the following month to this format as well. Okay, just want to check my chat. What stone bracelet would be most helpful for someone in need of healing? All right, so that is a really great question. And if the person who wrote that is able to, if there is a specific type of healing that is being asked or is being searched for, I can perhaps hone it down a little better. When in doubt, work with an earth stone and work with a stone that is going to support the heart chakra. Now, one of the stones that I think is really helpful for earth and kind of that heart chakra is an example of perhaps rose quartz or green moss agate. Now, rose quartz is a water element stone. It doesn't have earth in it, yet it's so compassionate, and it is a member of the quartz family. It can be very helpful in balancing and clearing the interference that's causing the issue at hand. So it could be a physical issue. It could be an emotional or mental issue. It could be a spiritual issue where we're just really feeling, perhaps we're feeling lonely and we just don't really feel super connected with people. That would be an example of that. Let's see. Here's another question. What about a stone bracelet specifically for balancing emotions? Yes. Okay. So I would say work with a stone that resonates with water. And so when we're thinking about water, rose quartz I've already mentioned, clear quartz will balance all the chakras. Clear quartz is a very transformational stone. It actually resonates with storm element, and yet it's a gentle storm element stone. It is about helping to clear out what's interfering. Let me just take a peek back here. Sometimes when we're dealing with emotional issues, what's happening is that we really need to settle into maybe our second chakra. This is the chakra out of which our emotions emerge. So working with a stone that's orange calcite would be a great example of this. Citrine could be an example of that. Citrine is another example of the quartz, one of the quartz family members. Living down here can be very powerful when we're working with stones to support emotional healing. Now, let me see. In fact, you know what? I actually have a piece of carnelian here that I will work with a little bit later with a different question. But you can see the fiery orange of this carnelian. Sometimes it's banded in white and kind of almost browns, and that's fine too. This one happens to be pretty on the orange side. This will help us work with what's going on in that second chakra, in that emotional field. We have the chakras, okay? The second chakra, which is below the belly button in the lower abdomen, gives rise to a field around us, a layer of our energy field that is our emotional field. And so we carry our emotions within that energy field as well. This is why you can walk into a room and perceive that either everybody seems really happy or, ooh, wow, it feels kind of sad in here, or I'm sensing there's some dis-ease, unsettledness. Your energy field is bumping into the energy field of the others, and you're resonating and connecting up with that. So that's an example I want to go back to right from the get-go when we were talking about the protection stone bracelet in this case, where we're really going to be able to have a strong energy field. There's nothing wrong with bumping into each other's energy fields. We do it all the time, and we're supposed to do it all the time. The important thing when it comes to any kind of healing is learning not to take on somebody else's stuff so that they may heal it. Because if we take it on, we're holding on to a little piece, and they can't finish healing that because we're holding on to part of that piece. So it's okay to be very loving and compassionate. We're supposed to be loving and compassionate. And we can do so without kind of jumping right into the beehive with the rest of the action that's going a little bit wild. So if you're working with carnelian and then perhaps a piece of rose quartz, working with those with bracelets can be really beautiful. Now, you may find that you have a very small little stone and you have a tiny little, sometimes they have these little cages. I have cages on my shop, but they're about an inch in diameter and they can stretch a little bigger. But really small little cages or little containers can just be one stone in there. It does not have to be a whole armful of stones. Less is more sometimes when it comes to working with gemstones. Oh, good. I answered that question. Well, thank you. I'm glad that helped. So when it comes to overall healing, pick a bracelet. Don't overthink it. You might have heard me say that. Don't overthink it. If what you have is a stone or a bracelet that's made out of stones that are really anchoring, work with that. Hold it in your hand, hold it up to your heart, set the intention of what you're asking healing to take place, and allow the properties of the bracelet to support the inner magic and mystery and phenomenal healing that is taking place. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. And again, reach out to me if you want a little bit more clarity around that. That would be great. All right, so here is a question. It says, I saw your rock talk about Charoite. Okay, so first of all, Rock Talk is one of my little playlists on my YouTube channel, and I also do push it out to some social media sites as well. And Rock Talk is going to give you an opportunity to listen to maybe 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 minute long videos about various stones. I usually do one every couple weeks or so, 10 days, 2 weeks, more or less. And so this person saw the one that I offered about Charoite. And the question is, it sounds like a great crystal that can help in a lot of ways. Please talk more about it. So if you are fortunate enough to have a bracelet made out of Charoite, that is an amazing stone. And in my Rock Talk video, I talk about Charoite being really one of my favorite stones, and it is actually another stone that I work with on a daily basis. So now you've heard me say I'm working with lapis lazuli every day, and I'm working with charoite every day. The reason I like charoite is it is a stone that resonates with wind. So we've got this wind energy. It also brings all of that inspiration into the heart, and it balances all of the chakras. Now, charoite comes out of Siberia and Russia. It is pretty rare, and it is a little pricey. And so if you went to see my shop and check out what I have available, you'll notice that it is priced by gram. I wanted to show you what charoite looks like and then show you a couple of pieces that are available. So here is an example of a piece of charoite. It just has this beautiful, beautiful, almost like mica kind of shimmer to it. Sometimes it even has a little bit of calcite in it. Here's a piece. Look at, see, you can even see some calcite there. So when working with charoite, excuse the clinking of my bowl. Here's another piece. I like this one. It sits really nice and flat. That could be beautiful in a crystal grid. When working with charoite, you'll sometimes see that it has a lot of inclusions, black inclusions. And those are wonderful ways to remind us that we are connecting with deeper work. You know, when we think about dark time and darkness, we're just in the Northern Hemisphere. We are coming out of a couple seasons of dark. Autumn and fall, or rather autumn and winter are dark, kind of quiet, kind of resting times where thoughts perhaps are and seeds are planted, but there's not a lot of action that takes place until spring and summer. And so charoite reminds us that we are able to be okay with being in places that seem a little quiet. Perhaps we're in a time in our life where we're not getting real clear answers. Charoite can remind us and help us stay present to being there. Here is another piece. This is one of my own pieces. This is one that I work with fairly regularly. So it comes in all kinds of different shapes and sizes. Here is a sphere. And I've talked about it before, that when we work with a stone with a particular shape, we're also going to have the properties of the stone influenced by the shape. And in this case, we've got that sphere that's emanating out those properties throughout the entire field. So that's charoite, and it is really an incredible stone. It is a stone that I find very, very gentle. There are times definitely when we are working with crystals and stones, as in life, where things get a little bumpy. And there are times when it's a very calm and nurturing experience. And in my experience, charoite is very much a very gentle healer. It does not cause us to have our cage rattled too abruptly. So I hope that answered that question. Let me see what, no other questions right now. Good. So here's another question. It says, the other day, one of my coworkers showed me a shiny, black, silvery stone that is really good at clearing negative energy. They said it was Shungite. Is this true? Well, it could very likely be that they were talking about Shungite. Before I talk about Shungite, I'm going to, I just want to address one of the words in this question, just because we all tend to do it from time to time, and I'd like us to just kind of reframe things. So the question asks, showed me a stone that is really good at clearing negative energy. So when we think about energy, the reality is energy is not negative or positive. It just is. Just like emotions, as we were addressing that with the question that came through. Emotions are emotions. They're not good or bad. They're not positive or negative. However, how we experience them can definitely be pleasant or unpleasant. So whenever we hear the term like clearing negative energy. I think it's an opportunity for us to kind of restate that in such a way so that, and let me just try this here, see if you can kind of get my gist. The other day, one of my coworkers showed me a shiny black silvery stone that is really good at clearing energies that are uncomfortable and don't feel well. Okay? Or we can have a negative experience with, because that I think is fair. There is a way to kind of think that negative energy is bad. And the reality is that negative energy already sends us into a more a scarcity mode rather than saying, I'm experiencing some energy shifts and they're feeling pretty uncomfortable or they're feeling downright crummy. So I want to talk with you about Shungite because it is a stone that is very, very helpful at clearing the electromagnetic field and supporting healing. It's a stone that resonates with the earth element, very grounding. And when I'm talking about grounding, it's not just about feeling our feet underneath us, although that's important. And sometimes that's what we need to do. It's about connecting deeply with the electromagnetic field of the earth and allowing it to help us clear our energy field. It's almost as if we're able to match the strength of the earth's energy more effectively when we're grounded than when we're not grounded. So I want to show you some examples of Shungite. Here is a piece of what is known as regular Shungite, and it is about 50%, maybe 52% carbon, and it's a specific kind of carbon molecule. And it's really not a crystal at all, because a crystal is a stone that has a specific crystalline structure that is geometric and that is actually created as the atoms and molecules all line up together, and that pattern does not change throughout the stone. In many ways, this really is an amorphic stone because it doesn't really have an internal structure per se that we're used to when we think about it that way. So this is regular Shungite. I like that it's dense. It can be kind of polished up and shaped and rubbed. It is not going to break. This bracelet I'm wearing, this is regular Shungite, okay? And it's really helpful for strengthening the energy field. Shungite is also really helpful for supporting the properties of the other stones. So I'm intentionally wearing it with the malachite to be able to help support the healing that's going on in my tendon, okay? There is another type of Shungite. This is called Elite Shungite. Let me see if I can move it around a little. So there you go. You can kind of catch the reflection. It's almost silvery, and that's where when this question came in about a shiny black silvery stone, it's pretty sure that this is going to be Shungite. This is very light. It's about 98% carbon, very friable. It really cannot be shaped into anything. It'll just crumble. When I'm working with Shungite, if a little piece falls off, that goes into a little area where I keep some of my other little pieces of stones that have chipped off and fallen. Now, one of the things I have in my shop is a necklace rather, and I've just put it on a chain rather than the string it came on. But this is a way that you can wear Shungite, Elite Shungite, around a neck. It could be that what you want to do is maybe hang this next to your computer where you work, or maybe you want to have a piece like this on your computer. Like I don't have it now, but typically I do have a piece of Elite Shungite down here while I'm doing these live Q&As. So that's the difference between that Elite Shungite and the regular Shungite. Here's another example of a bracelet, and this one has beads, but they're not round and symmetrical. Another great way of keeping Shungite within the energy field. Now, Shungite does have this strong electromagnetic clearing property and can be really helpful for clearing spaces. So just as I was talking about the way the round sphere shape of this charoite emanates out those properties, the same can be true, or the same can be said to be true for Shungite. So here is Shungite. Now, this particular size Shungite is going to radiate out in all directions about 2.5 meters out, clearing an electromagnetic field. If we were to take Shungite, again, this is regular Shungite, taking this 3-centimeter square pyramid, this is going to emanate out about 1.5 feet out in all directions. Now, if we bring in a larger mass, heavier, more, a bigger amount of Shungite, then with the same 3-centimeter base, but this larger, longer mass, this particular tower of Shungite will radiate out about 4 meters in all directions. So depending on what you're looking for, it may be that you're looking for a piece that's a little bit bigger, or in this case, a little bit taller, to spread out those properties. Or if you're working with a space that's smaller, you may like the idea of working with a smaller piece. Okay. Another thing that I have available, this is actually a piece of Shungite, and you can see a little circle has been, a little area has been bored out, and this becomes a wonderful place to set a sphere. I had, you may have seen it, the Charoite sitting here. So again, another way to blend in the various properties of stones and having that Shungite close within your environment. There's also something else that I work with a lot with Shungite. I have to change hands here, is that these are balancing rods, and this is Shungite, and this is soapstone. Shungite has a very feminine energy. If you're familiar with traditional Chinese medicine, it's yin and yang. So yin is a very feminine and a receptive type of energy, and that is the Shungite. And then the soapstone is more of the yang or the masculine energy. And we have both energies within us. It's simply an opportunity to balance those. And so this is an example of rods that you can hold during meditation. I spend every day working with Shungite rods. This is actually what I work with. And this is the Shungite, and this is Charoite. So again, Charoite is a little pricey. So if you were interested in a balancing set and wanted to have a Charoite rather than the soapstone, let me know, and I can talk with you more. I can certainly get that for you, but I just don't typically keep that in stock. Now, another way that we can work with balancing our energy field with Shungite and soapstone are these discs that can be placed in the hand. I just want to, again, here's the black Shungite. Here is the soapstone to be able to hold those. And even working with a piece of Shungite and another stone that you want to work with, meditating that way, praying, resting, that can all work together. So those are some examples of Shungite, and particularly the ways that it helps support our ability to clear the electromagnetic field and really detox. Now, there is you'll see information, and I have read it as well, that people will work with Shungite, especially elite Shungite, and like put it in their drinking water to detox. All right. So one of the things I will say is please don't put it directly into the water. A lot of people do. I would recommend not. Even if we know a stone is safe, we don't know what impurities may be also on that stone or embedded within that stone. So a simple way is to put it inside another container and then put the other container inside um, the water. You can, I don't remember which Crystal Q&A month we talked about how to make gemstone elixirs. I'm going to ask you to just go back and take a peek. I do kind of write a little summary as to what we cover in every video, but take a look for it and learn more about how to work with making a gem water and to do that safely with any stone, and particularly elite Shungite. Okay. Some people will put it in their bath water. That's fine. Just please don't drink it. I'm just going to stress that. So let's see. There's another question. Can you address complementary stones that would be complementary with other energy related practices such as Tai Chi or yoga? Great question. Yes, I will definitely do that in just one second. So keep that in mind as you're working with elite Shungite. Reach out to me if you have more questions. I really want you to be work with crystals and gemstones safely, right? That's that's what's important. So when we are taking a look at practices such as Tai Chi and yoga, I think first of all, it's important for all of us to remember that that is energy healing. That is a form of energy healing. We are working with the energy pathways or the meridians. We are working with the energy centers and chakras. We're working with the biofield, the energy field, the aura around us. And so when we're working with Tai Chi and yoga, and I think right now I'm just going to mostly address Tai Chi just because I'll come back to yoga in a second. But when we're working with Tai Chi, Tai Chi is about being very grounded and very, very centered. If we think about Tai Chi masters, I remember many years ago, I saw a documentary about energy. It was Bill Moyers from PBS was doing a several part documentary, and he was talking about chi, which is the word for life force or energy within the Chinese tradition. And he was showing us a very old, very elderly man who was a Tai Chi master and had the ability to hold his center and grounding so well that he would invite, for demonstration purposes, others to come near him and try to knock him over. And his energy field was so strong that there was this big circle around him, maybe 30 feet away from him, and young men and youngsters would try to run in and push him over, and they were literally knocked off their feet before they ever got anywhere near him. And they were using what I believe that was happening is that he had such a strong energy field that their own energy and their own momentum was actually running into his energy field, and then they lost their balance. So when we're thinking about Tai Chi, we really are talking about the ability to stay very present in the moment and being mindful of every posture, every move, whether it is the way the hand moves, whether it is the foot placement, whether it is the alignment, and the breath. And so I would say when we're working with stones related to Tai Chi, certainly grounding stones can be great. One of the things I think could be really helpful, especially if you are working intentionally to calm your mind and really kind of settle down in your practice, what would it look like if you were to take some stones and kind of mark an area off within which you would practice? So let's say, for example, you had four stones and you wanted to kind of put one in each of the four corners of the area that you were going to be practicing within. That would be a great way to bring stones into your practice. And the stone could be a stone that kind of helps clear your mind. Maybe it's some sodalite. Maybe it is some lapis lazuli. Maybe it's some blue calcite. Maybe it's some dumortierite. There are stones that are not terribly expensive so that you can get some, you could get some nice chunks. Um, Not that I'm saying run out and buy a bunch of charoite. This would be might be cost prohibitive, but if this size of blue calcite or sodalite or blue lace agate could be beautiful placed around your work environment or your Tai Chi practice environment. So that could be one example. When it comes to yoga, and I'm not a yoga practitioner, but I would say when it comes to yoga, take a look at which of the areas within the chakra system are you finding that that's your invitation for healing is strongest. Perhaps honing in on, again, creating a space where you're going to be working with your um, yoga to encompass some stones. Perhaps you want to actually create a grid in the space where you're going to be working, a grid that you can put down and take up and practice within it. That could be good too. So I'm hoping that that was helpful in answering that question. So bottom line, what's the work you're doing? If you're doing Tai Chi, you can never go wrong with getting grounded. And bring in what are the factors that are influencing how you're showing up for your practice. And allow yourself to grow with that possibility that you're going to work with a particular stone for a while. And then you're going to realize that, you know what, I don't need that stone anymore, but I'm feeling I'd like to work with another one. So experiment with it. Feel free to send me a question or an email if you have other questions as well. Thank you for that question. Good. So that's those. Let me double check any other chats. Nope, we're looking good. Okay, so here's a question, and I get this question asked off and on in my healing practice as well. The question is, I want to start learning about crystals to help me heal. I have a few things going on that I want to work on and improve myself, and I don't know where to start. I get overwhelmed sometimes, so I don't know how many stones I should start with. What do you think? Great question. And it's something that I think we all can experience from time to time, whether we've been working with stones and crystals for a long time or if they're a relatively new practice for us. When it comes to working with stones, I think it's really helpful to obviously not dive in and get a lot of them. We just get too confused and it's not helpful. I would say if you can work with 3 or 4 or 5 stones over a period of time, that can be really helpful. One of the things I've actually done is created collections of gemstones and crystals, and I have a number of them, but one of them that really came to my mind related to this question was my 5-piece kind of crystal toolkit set. Because when we're starting to work with stones, it's kind of like going into a candy shop and we just can maybe grab a lot of things and we don't know what we're doing. So I've got some toolkit collections that can be helpful perhaps when you're discerning what you want to work with. So with my 5-piece set, one of the things that I like to do is recognize that by working with the chakras and working with the elemental system that I work with, earth, fire, water, wind, and storm, we cover all of our bases. And then we can expand into working with maybe 1 or 2 of those stones for a while more than the others, or maybe working with all of them. So I just wanted to show you the stones that I have. This is actually a piece of Shungite. This is an earth element stone. It's very grounding. It's going to be working in this root chakra to get our feet underneath us. Root chakra is about physical healing. So if we have physical stuff going on, even though it may very likely be impacting other parts of our life, it's the physical layer and the physical level that needs the healing, and that's where we can be really supported by earth stones. And it happens that in that particular set, the Shungite is in that. So and we've already obviously talked about Shungite, so perhaps you can see how that could be really beneficial. The fire element stone that I think is a really wonderful stone to start working with. And with this person, they want to start learning about crystals. So we want to be mindful of taking things slowly and not overloading ourselves. So carnelian, and I showed you that before too, fire element, really great at working with the second and the third chakras, because the second and the third chakras are fiery kind of chakras. That's where a lot of activity goes on. And so working with that can be great. And, I really love carnelian. It's so ordinary. It is one of the most ordinary stones, and it's so extraordinary at the same time. When it comes to working with the water element and moving up higher into that heart chakra, I like to work with rose quartz. That would be my recommendation to start with. And rose quartz, actually, we talked about right at the beginning when we were talking about the gemstone bracelets. So whether it is a smaller piece like this or a larger piece, having some rose quartz can be just really lovely to support healing, whether it sits someplace in your home, you have it next to your bedside table, you wear it, or you carry it in your pocket or slip it inside a pillowcase. So that can be really nice. For the wind element stone, I have selected amethyst. So amethyst is yet another member of the quartz family. And we've been talking about the various members of the quartz family. We've got clear quartz. We haven't talked about clear quartz very much yet, but then we have rose quartz, we have citrine, we have rose quartz, and then we have amethyst. I think I did that right. Oh, well, I won't bore you again. But anyway, we've got amethyst. This is actually a piece of banded amethyst, which also has some white quartz in it. Whenever I'm working with banded amethyst and the white quartz that shows up, it's really a reminder that we've got this real high connection with that spiritual energy that drops down from the heavens. And keep in mind that when you're working with Shungite, you are connecting with the deep spiritual energies that reside within the earth. So it's both an earth and a heaven process, and amethyst can be really supportive in that work. This works up at that brow and crown space, way up at the upper chakras, so that can be really helpful. And then we have clear quartz. And here is a small piece. This is a clear quartz, single terminated, which means it has a termination is the point. This is a perfect example of a crystalline structure. So whether or not we can see the structure, and in this case we can, I'm sorry, I'm not holding that very well. Or in this case, with the amethyst, we can't see the termination point. It's definitely in there. Okay, so clear quartz, I mentioned this when we were talking about the gemstone bracelets. It's a storm stone, but a gentle storm stone, and can be really helpful at clearing all of the chakras. So if you have only one stone to work with, I would say work with clear quartz or work with amethyst. Those are both really lovely stones for working with a variety of the chakras. So storm element is about the transformation that takes place. So whether we're physically healing, whether we're healing through some emotions and relationship stuff or some thoughts and worries and concerns, it's going to be supported with the kind of transformation that takes place with storm element. So that would be, I think, some good ideas as to how you could start beginning to do some work related to crystal healing without being overwhelmed. Okay, let me see if we have no other questions. Good. Here is a question, and we've talked a little bit about this before, and when questions come in, I always like to honor them as well. I love amber, this person says. Is it a crystal or is it a stone? Neither. We call a lot of things gemstones. We call a lot of things stones because it's just easy to kind of glop them all together. But actually, amber is perhaps a mineraloid, if we wanted to call it that. Here is a piece of amber. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out where I can hold it there. Maybe you can see it a little bit better. So amber is fossilized tree sap. There are different kinds of amber, and you'll perhaps, maybe you've already seen it, there is a form of amber that's called copal. So yes, it's tree sap, but it has not been fossilized for long time. So it's not technically amber. So just be mindful of that. I mean, if you want to get copal, that's fine. Just know what you're getting. Just like anything, if you find a stone that you absolutely love and you find out that it's not really what it's supposed to be, and you absolutely love it, as long as you know what it is, that's the important piece. So often you're going to find amber kind of this kind of golden color. And I wanted to show you that there are ways that amber shows up in different presentations. This is a piece of blue amber from Sumatra. It has almost like some mahogany and blue tones to it. One way to know if it's real amber is that you rub it and it starts instantly getting tacky. Resin doesn't do that. Plastic doesn't do that. This starts getting warm. Plastic does not get warm. So again, you may have a beautiful amber bracelet that somebody gave you that you find out is plastic or resin. That's okay. You still enjoy it. Just know that it's not going to give you the qualities and the properties of the amber. One of the things I like about amber is that it used to be tree sap, which means it used to be part of a tree. And it's as if the tree stood still long enough so that transformation could take place. And I always kind of inwardly smile about that because it's like, what would it be like if we just slowed down and stopped long enough to allow transformation to take place in our life? That, to me, is the message of amber. Here's another piece. I like this one. This has a little bit of the shine, but most of it is pretty rough. Now, this can be tumbled and polished up. You might even find little statues and all kinds of carvings because it is so soft to work with. Yet, where's the elite shungite here? It's not friable like this. This will just crumble if we're not careful. Okay, so that is amber, and it is a stone that resonates with earth, yet it's a very gentle earth element stone. It's very gentle. Perhaps it's like the charoite I was talking about. Very gentle with its healing process. It's not going to rock and roll you too much. We don't need that when we're going through rough patches. We're already feeling pretty unsettled. So if you are experiencing kind of an unsettledness, and this could be a stone that could be great to work with if you're navigating emotional healing, to be able to work with some amber to help hold you gently. It could be that you want to work with the shungite, like I was talking about before, and a piece of amber. That's a great way to bring balance into the energy field. So I hope that that's helpful to you. And I do have time for one other question tonight. The question is, Iceland Spar looks like quartz, but when I looked it up, I learned that it is calcite. How does it help with healing? That's a great question. They're all good questions. So here is the quartz, and here is Iceland Spar or optical calcite. So they're actually both able to be seen right through. In fact, I'm able to see myself more clearly through the optical calcite than through much of this quartz. So it is calcite. It resonates with fire element and also with optical calcite, also known as Iceland Spar. It also connects up with those really high chakras, the crown chakra, and even the chakras up off the body, which are considered transpersonal chakras because they're literally off our body. Here's another example. This is one that I work with periodically. Again, there you go. You can kind of see right through it, right? Yeah. So working with this kind of a stone as a meditation tool can be really helpful. It can really help bring in clarity and insight, and yet it's doing it from that sense of fire and activity and action, which is unique to, I think, to Iceland Spar or optical calcite, because it doesn't really look super fiery, but it definitely is. It also has all this beautiful, all these layers within it that just tell stories. And I think it's almost like looking into a window. And whenever we have a stone that invites us to work inwardly, I would say work with that stone to go inward into your own thoughts and experiences and feelings. And this is a great stone to work with particularly, and then journal. All of them, I think, are great stones to work with for journaling. Yet this can be really helpful because you are working so much in the spiritual realm as well. Okay. So that's a good question. And I touch on Iceland Spar or optical calcite in my Calcite Rock Talk video as well. And it perhaps has come up in past crystal Q&As, but I've been doing these things for a while now, so sometimes I get my questions mixed up in my head when I'm on the fly. So there you have it. We've had some really good questions. I thank everybody for sending those in, and thank you for those of you who were able to add into the chat. I did put in my links for my website where you can go and then explore my shop if you're curious. I put in my link for my online school, the Center for Crystal and Healing Studies, as well as my podcast, Ask, Learn, Heal, where I cover a variety of different topics related to healing, energy healing, and crystal healing. And all of my podcasts include guided meditations so that you can continue to work with the learnings that you are experiencing during my podcast episodes. So we have taken a look at gemstone bracelets and how we can intentionally work with the gemstones and crystals to support the healing. We talked about Charoite, revisited that from some other videos that I have already presented on that, and how it's just such a fabulous, overall, beautiful, beautiful stone to work with. We talked about Shungite, including how to not put Shungite into your drinking water, but to actually work with it indirectly. And you'll be able to look at some other videos to look at the links below the bottom of this video, and I'll have a link to that, the Q&A that will guide you to learn more about how to work with gem waters. We talked also about how to balance your energies, working with the Shungite and other stones, touched on how to start working with stones, which are the best, as well as amber, and finished off with optical calcite or Iceland Spar. So I hope you found this helpful and informative. Please reach out with questions you may have that you'd like me to further discuss next month. And speaking of next month, we will be connecting on Thursday, June 15th from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Time. And until now, or rather until then, I simply thank you for joining me. I wish you many blessings. Be well.